بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to the Fiqh class. Today inshallah we're continuing the discussion of the book of marriage, and we are still in the impediments of marriage. We're still discussing this issue. We stopped at the impediment of sickness. Did we discuss this or not yet? Okay. Someone is sick. What kind of sickness? It is the serious sickness. The sickness that you expect you may die. If you are in that state, are you allowed to marry or no? Yes. Why not? Someone went and he was diagnosed with cancer, and the doctors told him, you have only few months, few days left. That's it. So he said, well, then it is better to have happy days before I die. He wanted to enjoy his life before his death. Can he do that or no? There is nothing against it, right? What if his relatives came and they said, now he will have a wife and she will deprive us from lots of money? What if another wife came and she said, I will not allow him to marry another woman? He will die and I don't want anybody to share me with my fixed share. It's not her decision. Yeah, but isn't he going in the process of getting dead? Yes, don't we learn from the seerah and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that sometimes he forbade people to act, and one time a man donated 6 slaves, that was all his wealth, and the Prophet ﷺ was upset with that, and he allowed only 2. Scholars in general agreed that if the relatives came and they want to seize his money, because he was able to do whatever he wants while he is alive and he is sound and healthy, but now he might die soon. So what do you say? What do you tell him? According to Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Shafi'i rahimahumullah, he still can marry. What's the problem? He might live for 4 or 5 months. According to Imam Malik rahimahullah, it is not valid. And they have to be separated. Because here is the thing now, if the heirs came to the judge and they told him, our father already married a woman, and we don't want that marriage. We don't want her to inherit. We are not against our father, we love him, but if he was sound and healthy, we would support him in any decision he makes. But now, our mother already died, and this woman is coming, so she will take lots of money. And we don't want her. According to Imam Malik rahimahullah, the marriage is invalid. So which opinion is stronger? The first one? Yeah.
Malik saying because she's married to try to get inheritance? Is that what it means?
Well, obviously, why would a woman marry a man who is very sick? Maybe. He's on the deathbed. Okay, next issue. We have the impediment of iddah. Impediment of iddah. A woman during her iddah, can she marry? No. Why? To make sure. Of what? Possibility of having a child. What if there was no consummation? You still have to follow the rules. Now, if she is divorced and she is in the waiting period, there is a time of 3 months or 3 purifications or 3 menstruations until she is allowed to marry another man. Right? What if she is in a revocable divorce? Means she is divorced for the first time. She had a problem with her husband and he divorced her. First month passed, second month passed. In that month, a man came and proposed to her. What's the ruling on that? You can't propose. If a woman is already married, it is haram to propose. And it is also haram to hint and indicate. If a woman is divorced and in her iddah, it is still haram to declare your intention. But you could indicate. After the iddah, you are of course allowed to propose normally without a problem. Because remember, while she is in the iddah, in this case, in the case if she is divorced, she is still considered what? A wife for that husband, right? But she is in the process of leaving him. That's why there is this waiting period. So a man came and proposed to her. Not only that, he did marry her. He married her. They came to you, the husband and the wife, which is still in her waiting period from the previous husband. They are already married. What do you do?
Only the contract?
What?
Only the contract to sign.
What do you mean only the contract? They are married. They went to someone and they brought witnesses. Since she was already married before, he was lenient with the issue of the wali because she's already married. So she has her own decision. And he thought that she already finished the iddah. So he established the marriage. So they are married. But then later, they realized that she is still in the iddah from the previous husband. And they came to you. They said, let's go to him to find out what would we do. What do you tell them to do? The contract is invalid. Good. Because this man now had a free marriage and he did not pay her the mahar yet. He consummated the marriage with her and they agreed that he will pay her $10,000. Now they come to you and you tell them this marriage is invalid. So he says, okay, alhamdulillah, I had some free nights with her. I'm leaving now and I won't pay her anything. What do? You are the judge. Half the dower? Why half the dower? He married her. He consummated the marriage with her. What are the consequences of the invalid marriage? There is still consequences. One of them is the payment of the dower. He still has to pay her. He still has to pay her, even if we say it is invalid. But here is the thing now. The previous husband came and he said, on what grounds you are married? You are my wife and I want you back. And he took her back. And now what do you do? What do you do? You have the second husband and you have the first husband and you have this wife in the middle.
The new marriage is invalid.
Okay, fine. The new marriage is invalid. Then what? The first husband said, I don't want her anymore. Since she did that, I don't want her anymore. Second husband is happy now. He said, okay, so I will have her. What do?
Separated until the
Good. They separated until the iddah is over. What iddah? For the first husband. What about the second husband? They consummated the marriage. It is invalid, so it doesn't have consequences. So she has to count the previous iddah. She starts over or continues from where she stopped? Continues. After that, can he marry her? Some scholars said if a man marries a woman during her iddah, then he is forbidden on her forever. Because there was a judgment given by Umar that he separated them forever. Other scholars said no. He can marry her, but after she finishes the iddah, he becomes like any other person. He can propose to her, and she has the choice to choose either one. Okay? That is a very complicated issue if it happened. And it could happen. Okay. Next impediment. The impediment of marriage itself. When you are married to a woman, not you, someone who's not a Muslim, two Buddhists loved each other peacefully and they are married, then the wife goes to college, she finds this nice brother, Muslim brother, concerned about da'wah. He gave her da'wah, so she accepted Islam. Now, what do you tell her regarding her husband, who is Buddhist? She became Muslim now. She what? Give her time for what? Convince her husband. Her husband said, no, I love you, but I cannot accept Islam. She should get a divorce. Through the iddah. So, during the iddah. During the iddah, if he became Muslim, alhamdulillah. If he did not become a Muslim, she's divorced. On what grounds are you saying this? Bring a proof for that. Didn't this happen all the time during the time of the Prophet ﷺ? Weren't there people accepting Islam? Not always both spouses. What happened? Didn't the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ accept Islam while her husband remained non-Muslim? For how long? Long time, right? Were they divorced? Were they divorced? When he came back, did the Prophet ﷺ tell him, we have to re-establish the marriage again?
So was the ayah revealed that the Muslim woman is not allowed to marry?
Good. That is in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنْ. And do not, and marry not the disbelieving women until they accept Islam. And the slave woman is better than a free disbelieving woman. That is true. This is not the case here. Because that case you're talking about establishing the marriage. The marriage already existed. This is continuation to the marriage. This is not initiation. They're still married. She is a disbeliever. He's a disbeliever. They are not allowed to be married, but they were already married.
Just as a son is not allowed to marry his father's wife.
Yeah.
If that took place in Jahiliyyah.
Yeah.
Then after that he has to divorce her, right?
No, he's not married. This is over, because this marriage is invalid. Islam deem it invalid. So that's a different case.
Doesn't Islam deem it invalid for a Muslim woman to be married to
to be married, but they both were married correctly because they were both from one religion. They were both Hindus, they were both Buddhists. That's right. So they are married. They are still married. She is a Muslim and he is a disbeliever, and they are together.
The ayah doesn't say
Because he did not divorce
He did not divorce.
his daughters, his own daughter's husband.
this was
Yeah, but then when he comes back to Medina and he's accepted Islam, he doesn't say, okay, let's remarry you.
he stays on his coast.
She should what? He stays on kufr. And he is not accepting Islam, but he loves her. And he doesn't want to leave her. And she tells him, you have to accept Islam. He tells her, I'm not convinced yet. Yes.
Maybe the ayah is just for their marriage, that if they divorce, they could not remarry. But
Once they're married,
just the new
you leave a woman. Why it was not allowed for a Muslim woman to marry a non-Muslim man?
Because the man was usually
Because the man is the responsible for the household. Isn't this the same case here? He is still responsible for the household. Is that the reason? Maybe.
Prophet's understanding.
Still.
He still left it.
Actually, if you read, the majority of scholars said during the iddah period, she is divorced, or she waits until the iddah period. If he did not accept Islam, then they are divorced. But Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah discussed this a lot, and he digressed on this issue in Zad al-Ma'ad. In Zad al-Ma'ad. Maybe, inshallah, after it is translated in volume 7 or 8, you will find this. And he agrees that they are still married. Of course, if she chooses to leave him, that's her choice. But if she wants to still stay with him while she is maintaining her Islam, and she is strong and she guarantees that he will not affect her, I personally agree with Imam al-Qayyim rahimahullah on this. I don't see any direct evidence that says they are automatically divorced. Yes, Omar.
Does she have the right to divorce him?
Does she have the right? Well, what about the free man or the free woman? She is a slave and now she became free. All scholars agreed she has the right. And this is coming actually, one of the reasons for options in marriage. Isn't that greater than slavery? Accepting Islam? It is. So, another issue we have, now that's really, that needs further discussion, especially in our case here in America, where many people may accept Islam. Now, in Muslim countries, this might not be an issue, but here actually it is an issue. And that is the fatwa of some scholars, like contemporary scholars, Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya, Hafidhahullah, and other scholars. They agree with this. They say she doesn't have to be divorced. If she chooses, that's a different story. But to say this is automatic, no, that is not the case. And I think if you read the book, even Ibn Rushd, he inclines towards that opinion, that they are not divorced. If a man accepts Islam, and he has 10 wives, what do we tell him? Or he has 2 wives, but both of them are sisters. Because before Islam, he was married to 2 sisters. He likes to marry from that breed, that lineage. And he married 2 sisters. They are beautiful, and he wanted both of them. He accepted Islam, and he is told this is haram. So what do we tell him? What should he do? Keep them? From the 10, he picks 4. Why not pick the first one? And the rest are invalid over 4. Ghaylan al-Thaqafi radiallahu anh, he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with 10 wives. He had 10 wives. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell him? Keep 4. But what kind of 4? He chooses. What if he chose the last 4? He was married to 6. And he chose the last 4. Or a man that is married to two sisters. He chooses one. The first one, according to Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, the first one. But the majority of scholars said it is his choice. He makes this call. Next, we come to an important issue, which is option in marriage. Now, the beauty about Islam is that it encourages people as much as they could to keep the marriage. But at the same time, it gave a way out. It is not permanent marriage forever, that's it. Unlike some religions, you still have a way out. And on the other hand, it is not equally for everybody to ask for divorce. Otherwise, it will be chaotic. There is no security in marriage. Therefore, the husband has the final say regarding marriage. He is allowed to divorce. But for the wife, she is allowed to request the divorce through khul' or through the judge. So Islam guaranteed both rights for everyone. Yet, the husband still has a higher right because he's the provider and to maintain the security of the family. This is a great combination of system that we have in Islam that you will never find anywhere else. But sometimes things go wrong. And Islam gave the option. In that case, you don't have to wait for the other party to agree. You already have the option, just like in sale. You paid the money, so you took the merchandise, and now you say, I don't want it anymore. The other party has to agree. But there are cases where you don't care about what the other party says because there is a defect. So in marriage we have 4 reasons to get the option, where you are free to continue or leave this marriage. The first option, when you have deficiencies, when there is defect in marriage, in the other spouse. Or when there is difficulty or inability. Inability to what? Inability, this pertains to the husband, when he is unable to pay the money to maintain the household, the expenditure on the household. Third option is the loss of a spouse. And the fourth case, in case of freedom. These cases allow spouse to request a separation. So let us start with the first thing, which is deficiencies or defect in marriage. If the husband did not pay the wife the dower, a fiancé promised to pay $10,000. They agreed that the marriage will be on that day. For instance, they established the contract. Legally, Islamically, they are what? Married, husband and wife. The wife asked the husband to pay her the money on February 20th. Because they will have the ceremony and the consummation of marriage on March 1st. So she requested 10 days before the celebration to have the money, the dower. The 20th of February came and the husband did not have money. He said, by the end of the month, I will get my paycheck and I will pay you. The 28th came, the 29th came, and the 1st of March came, and he did not pay her. And he said, I cannot pay you now. And her family became concerned. And they wanted out of this marriage. She said, I will not consummate the marriage with him unless he pays me. Is that her right? Isn't that her right or no? Yes. So they decided to postpone the marriage till 10th of March. 10th of March came and he did not pay her. So she said, that's it, I am leaving him. And she went to the judge and she told him, I don't want him anymore. He came and he said, I promised to pay her. Just give me 6 months. He asked the judge to give him 6 months and he will pay her, and he gave her certified checks that she will deposit them and she will get the money. But she refused. She said, no, it's too late now. What would you do? What? Half the dower for what?
Because of the contract and full consummation.
Yeah, but he said, I am willing to pay the entire dower, but I want her to be with me. Do you separate them? She has the right. The Zahirites said, no, she doesn't have the right. But the majority of scholars said, she has the right. Okay, this is one case. Another case, if they already consummated the marriage. And she expected him to provide for her. He told her, I will pay the bills, I will pay the rent, I will bring food, I will help you, and he paid nothing of this. She wants new clothes, he did not do any of this. She went to the judge, she went to you, telling you, I want to leave him. What would you do in this case? Do you separate them? Do you separate them? Why? It is her right to get the money, right? Okay, but he did not deny that. He said, just wait for me 1 year. I will get a job. Couldn't this happen to you? Couldn't this happen to every one of us? But if it happened for a long time now, she says, I waited and waited and I don't see any change coming. I believe in change, but I don't believe it is coming soon. So, would you separate them? She wanted to. Would you separate them? If you have a creditor who's asking you, he has been harassing you because you did not pay him, and he wants his money back, what do you tell him? I don't have money, that's it, leave? What do you tell him? Why don't you consider her a creditor, and once you have money, you will pay her?
Can you give her some kind of collateral?
He doesn't have any assets.
In this case, will the state provide?
Now, if she is happy with it, there is no issue here. But the issue is when she says, I want to leave. It is my right, he is not providing for me, and I want to leave. Again, the majority of scholars said, it is her choice. But Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah said no. And the Zahirites also said no. They are not separated. Because when they were married, there is an evidence. And there is a consensus that they are married. Now, on what grounds are you separating them? You have to have a strong evidence that she is allowed to be separated. Yes.
Sheikh, would that also apply to other conditions in the marriage that are in the contract? Like if she stipulates he marries another wife.
Yes, that's like other conditions. There are extra conditions that are listed in the marriage contract. If he did not fulfill them, that means she has the option. That does not mean automatic divorce. Yes, she requests to leave, she is allowed to. So is that the same or no? According to the majority of scholars said yes. They said yes, she is allowed to leave. But according to Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, to Zahirites, no. They don't leave. Next issue is the lost spouse. A wife is married to a man, and he told her, I'm leaving on a cruising trip, and it will take from 7 to 10 days. He left. 10 days passed, 20 days passed, 1 month passed, and this husband, there is no news from him. She asked the cruise, the company. They said, well, we returned 20 days ago. She asked, where is my husband? They told her, he was with us, but we missed him one day, and we don't know where did he go. She comes to you. What do you tell her? Wait 4 months. She waited 4 months. He did not show up. She can leave. She is divorced. Her choice. This is what she wants. She says, for how long should I wait? No, that is different. Umar, when he gave 4 months, Umar radiallahu anhu gave 4 months, the maximum for a husband to leave his wife. That is if you have a choice. What if you did not have a choice? You were captured by the enemies and you did not have any ways of communication. After 1 year, they released you. There was a turmoil and then they released you. They saw you have a beard. They thought you are terrorists, so they captured you. After 1 year, they established democracy and they left you. You went back. She doesn't know that, yeah. You don't hold her prisoner in this marriage. So for every woman, if she misses her husband for 4 months, that's it. She's divorced. She wants to leave the marriage.
No supporter, no one to help her, not to do anything.
So we can go on food.
That's what they say. Oh yeah, 4 months. That's why they limited it to 4 months because of that.
By that time, there was
By the way, this did happen. Not only 4 months. It happened to the prisoners of war in Kuwait. When Saddam invaded Kuwait, there were 605 prisoners taken from Kuwait, and their wives did not know what happened to them. They hope that they are still alive, captured in prisons of Saddam Hussein. But after the American invasion, after the war in Iraq, they found out that all of them are dead. Now, when they were captured, it was 1990. The American invasion to Iraq happened in 2003. For how many years this lasted? 13 years. 13 years. And they don't know. So a woman comes to you and tells you, I don't know what is happening to my husband. And honestly, I cannot stay like that. I'm still young. Now maybe people will still marry me. But later on, if I wait for 10 years, what should I do? What do you tell her? You give her 4 months. That's it.
Just based on that.
Imam Malik rahimahullah gave 4 years. He said she waits 4 years. After 4 years, then she is divorced. She does the iddah and she is divorced. But what is the basis for this? This was a judgment from the companions. And now this is the case of marriage. What about inheritance? And this is something that we will discuss in inheritance, because it could happen. We'll discuss it, inshallah, second semester. Someone left and you have millions of dollars. You need them to be divided so you could get the money. That is different, and I will leave these details later, because some scholars said you wait until he reaches the age of 90. So if he left while he was 60 years old, you wait for 30 years. Because you cannot divide the money while he is not here. Maybe he is still alive, and you divided his money based on that he is dead. Because here in this case, you said 4 months, right? 4 months passed. 8 months passed, and she is married to another man. Then the old man came. After 8 months only, he came to find his wife with another man. What do you do? What? Understandable? How would you feel if you left your wife only for 8 months and there's no communication? Again, he was left in an island in Southern America where there is nothing there.
If she has no one else to support her, no one else to do it, then she wants to get someone to help her or whatever.
She has some means, but still she wanted to leave. So it could happen, and it did happen. If the first husband came to find his wife with the second husband now, what would you do in this case?
If the shaykh said okay, then it's okay.
You as a judge, you deem that the first marriage is over, and you decreed that the first one is dead or divorced. Now she is married to this man, and then the first husband came, and he told you, on what grounds you divorced her from me? I was only absent for 8 months, and I could not come earlier. I did not have any ways of communication. I had to swim, I had to go from an island to an island, and then I had to get money just to come quickly, and that's the best I could do. What do you tell him? Too late?
I'll find another girl.
He doesn't want. He wants his wife. It's too late? What would the wife tell you? She tells you, you divorced me and now this man came, my old husband. Do you tell her now you choose which one you want? On what basis the second marriage happened? On the assumption that the first will not come back, and he came back. Wouldn't you consider the second marriage invalid? Because what was based on what is invalid is invalid. This case could happen, and it did happen. What do you do? Time limits? No. Some of them say you wait 4 years if his case is risky. There is a war. Most likely after 4 years, definitely he's dead. But if case is like going for trade, for business, he might live for a long time. And they say you wait until he reaches 90 years. Yeah. Some of them say this. Yeah, because most likely for how long you will live? Most likely 60, that's the average. But aren't there many people live and go beyond that? So we want to be sure. We don't base our judgment on assumptions. We want to be sure. So most likely after 90 years he's dead. So you wait until he's 90.
So what becomes of the woman?
That's our indication.
Isn't there?
Actually, all these opinions are based on judgments. So the correct opinion actually is that on single case basis. As a judge, you need to look at this case in particular and see. Because sometimes even 1 month could be more than enough. And sometimes even years are not enough. You don't know. Again, the case of these women in Kuwait, there was really no way to tell because they were imprisoned. They were in secret cells, you don't know. even those who are taken, like the case in Afghanistan, for instance, if the CIA came and took some people, and they are imprisoned, and there is no listing for them, and you don't know. And a woman came, and she said, I woke up one day, I did not find my husband. What do I do? You tell her you are divorced, then her husband comes. What do you tell him? One sister told me that it happened in India. A man came after she is married to another man. So scholars issued the fatwa that she is still married to the first husband. Because they based the second marriage on the assumption that he is dead, and he was not dead. And he is more worthy. She is his wife before. But the issue is whether she has a choice or not, and which marriage is stronger. Okay, next issue is freedom. All scholars agreed that if a woman was a slave when she was married to a slave and she gained her freedom, she has the option to invalidate this marriage. And that was the case with Barira radiallahu anha. She was divorced from Mughith radiallahu anhu. Although he loved her very much, but she did not want him anymore. He is a slave, she became free, so she wanted to marry a free man. The issue where they differed is when she is married to a free man. A free man is not allowed to marry a slave woman in general, because her children will be slaves for the master. They will not be free because he is free. So if she was married for a free man and she is a slave, then she gained her freedom. In that case, does she still have the option or no? Here, scholars differed. Many of them said no, she doesn't have an option here, because the option is only when her husband is slave. But here, her husband is free, so there is no reason why she is given that option. Other scholars said it is the same, she still has the option. So, these are the opinions here. And with this, inshallah, we conclude with the fiqh session.